Welcome back to my Tides of Fate decklist archetype breakdown, part 2. Today we're going over the final 3 domains. Make sure you check out part 1 if you missed it. I'm going to be giving you guys some ideas of what you can play, the new types of synergies with all the new tribes and some of the new spells. These are just some ideas. There's of course other things you can do as well. There's a ton of great new cards. So let's dive in and check out some of the new options from Tides of Fate. We've got Project R.I.S E. Project R.I.S E seems really awesome. We've got, this is the thesis of the deck, which is Francesca, Surging Signal, Roar. If you control 4 or more other Atlanteans, obliterate them all and summon Project R.I.S E. It's a 4-mana 5/4, so if you can't do this, no real downside. You're just getting full stats for 4 mana. And if you can do this, then you get Project R.I.S E, which is a 15/15 frontline God Blitz protected. After this creature deals damage that destroys another creature, it can perform another attack this turn, which means you can hit their frontline, it dies, now you get to attack again, you get to kill their other creature, you get to attack again, you get to clear their entire board, and then go face for 15. This is just such a cool card. It's actually the entire island you can see on in the art. So this is a really strong win con if you can do it. It's obviously going to be very difficult to pull off, but we have some things in the deck to try and help our Atlanteans stick. We've got like the Undertow Rover, which gives protected. We've got the Boost Walker, which gives Twin Strike and +2/+2. This is just phenomenal on its own. This is just really a sick aggro deck as well. You get a ton of Atlanteans out and give them Twin Strike and +2/+2. We have the Phase Touched Golem, which gives ward to another Atlantean. Make things very sticky. If you can stick about 2 Atlanteans, then on like turn 6, you can drop like 2 1-mana Atlant Forger and a Broken Harvester, for instance. And now you suddenly have 4 Atlanteans on board, and boom, Project R.I.S.E. turn 6 or 7 or whatever. It's definitely doable. It's not going to be easy, and it shouldn't be easy because it's a 15/15. But at the very least, you have all these really cool Atlanteans. Now, the other thing that you need to know about Atlanteans is that they like to be on the top of the deck in order to do things. If the top card of your deck is an Atlantean, draw it. If the top card of your deck is an Atlantean, deal 2 damage. This one foresees 3 and then draws any Atlanteans you foresee. So this is basically a 3-mana draw 3 because we're going to play a ton of Atlanteans in this deck. We're only playing, I think, 3 or 4 spells. I think 3. 1 Crystal Technics and 2 Foresight Theses. We also have things that are semi-spell-like in the Mana Surge Sampler Archive, where this transforms a creature into a rat. It's a 2/4 for 3, otherwise not bad. Enduring Archive is if you have the top card of your deck is an Atlantean, gain protected. At the end of your turn, if the top card of your deck is an Atlantean, draw a spell. So that's why we have 3 spells. So hopefully the Atlant Glider can draw us something as well. And basically we just hit them hard, hit them fast, play a lot of Atlanteans, and then hope either Boost Walker can make our aggro deck really pop, or if we can use like Undertow and Phase Touch to try and make things sticky, that works as well. Crystal Technics is kind of like a Boost Walker. It gives 2 friendly Atlanteans +2/+2. However, this one gives 1 +2/+2, but also Twin Strike. And then Atlant Raptor might be one of the best 2-drops in the game now. In this deck, you're basically always going to have the top card of your deck be an Atlantean. So this is a 2-mana 2/3, deal 2 damage. I mean, that's pretty insane. If your opponent ever plays like a 2/2 on turn 1 or a 3/2, you just pip this out and boom, you've taken out their creature and developed your own creature. Like on turn 1, you can play this. This is really strong. In this deck especially, you could even play like another Crystal Technics or no spells whatsoever if you really want. We'll have to see how it plays. You could probably add even a couple more spells and get away with it. It's fine if every now and then you miss in order to have more spells in this deck, but this is like the all-in Atlantean. Use Francesca as a win con deck. Again, you could play it without her because she is a bit meme-like, but I don't know how meme-like she is. I think she's probably stronger than some people think. Next up, we've got Nature. This deck is an aggro deck that revolves around Food Chain. There's also some new control cards, which I'll show you as well for nature because I really like the control cards, but I really like food chain as well. It seems interesting. Destroy a friendly wild, summon a random wild that costs 2 mana more. This by itself is not super exciting unless you can trade something into your opponent's creature. Say you have a 4/4, you trade it into a 3/3. You don't want to leave it with 1 health. You play this for 1 mana, suddenly you have now, instead of a 4 mana creature, you have a 6 mana creature. It is random though, so there's always that downside. However, the mana surge, 7. Do this to all friendly wilds. So if you can go wide and have like 3 or 4 or 6 wilds on the board, and they all turn into 2 cost more wilds, that gets pretty nutty. So how do we mana surge 7? Nature's got a bunch of ways to do that. We've got Packstock, which you may not actually need to play this. There is another mana refresher in the set. I'll show you in a second. But the really easy way to do this is on turn 5, you can play a Revenant Lynx. It refreshes 2 mana, and now you have 4 mana to spend. So you can play a Revenant Lynx into a Bladefly. You've now spent 7 mana on turn 5. You've mana surged 7, and you have 4 wide. Even if you had nothing else the turn before, that's on turn 5. Turn 6, you can then play Food Chain. Say you could even do it on turn 4 with a Pip. You could do Revenant Lynx, Pip, Bladefly, and you've mana surged on turn 4. You're 4 wide. You suddenly turn the Bladeflies into 3 6 mana creatures, and your Revenant Lynx into a 5 mana creature. Obviously, a lot has to go right for all this to work. So if you don't want to worry about Food Chain, if that's just one of your win cons, you've also got Trial the Hydra and Wildfire to just buff all your wilds. You can go wide, get as wide as humanly possible. We've got new cards like Shredder the Hunter, 6 mana, 7/6 with Blitz. After an enemy creature is destroyed, split its strength and health randomly among all creatures in hand. So I think this one's going to be pretty strong. It's just a really big blitzer for 6 mana. It's pretty crazy. And then on top of that, have the fact that it adds all the stats to your own hand. Very nutty. It's very, very crazy. Like, that could buff things like a Marshwalker, a Pyre Shell Beetle. Suddenly you're dropping 1 mana, 3/6 regen 1 Marshwalker. Like, that's pretty sticky. We got Lord of the Reef is a 4 mana overkill, mana surge 6, summon a 3/2 Jawbone Scuttler, which is just a bonus 3/2 afterlife, deal 2 damage to a random enemy character. So yeah, 4 mana 4/5 with overkill, already overstatted for 4 mana. A vanilla should be 4/4/5. It's got overkill, and it summons an extra freaking creature. Pretty cool. I really like the Ink Cloud Giant. I love the thematicness here. I think it's an A+ for that because it's hidden. Got the Ink Cloud, right? And it's 4 mana 4/3. It's a little bit weak, but the mana surge 5 is deal 4 damage to a weaker creature. Yeah, give me a free Star Shard Bolt with my hidden 4/3 wild. I'll take that every day of the week. Sounds beautiful to me. And that's it for this aggro wild deck. We've also got control cards with nature. Here's the other refresh card I was talking about, Vasek Isle, refresh 2 mana. So you spend 2, but it refreshes 2. Kill your god for 1. That's really boring and bland, but it really helps with your mana surge cards because you pay 2, you refresh 2. So now on turn 5, you can easily spend 7 mana. And if you have mana surge 5, you get to add another Vasek Isle back to your hand. Blood in the Water I really like. This might be one of my favorite cards from the new set. I love the art so much. Blood in the Water, 3 mana. Each friendly creature attacks target creature. Perfect thematically. Mana Surge 5. All creatures attack instead. That means your opponent's creatures attack their own creature. I don't know the order yet. I don't know if their creatures attack first. That would make this far better because then your creatures don't die ramming into your opponent's. Your opponent's creatures die ramming into their own thing. That would be huge for 3 mana. I kind of assume that their thing attacks first, otherwise seems not as good. However, if you're running this in control nature, you might not have any creatures anyway, and then this is just your opponent's creatures attacking. And that means you actually now have to be very careful in board ordering. When you're ordering your own board, If your opponent's playing nature, make sure you don't put like all these little weak creatures to the left and then your strong creature to the right, because then all the little creatures go ramming one by one. Like you need to like actually try and calculate what the worst order is if someone were to hit you with blood in the water at any given time, which is not easy to do. Normally you want things to the left for things like Toast of Peace, because then when you get a bunch of stuff sent back to your hand, you want your best cards on the left because those are the ones that go into your hand first, so you don't lose them with overdraw. But now you might actually want your best cards on the right if they're like low statted, because you don't want your lowest cards to attack. Anyway, I'm getting too deep into the water with this one because it's a really cool card. We've also got, I like Landcaller Captain, I like the art a lot. It's just a really good Amazon. So Amazon's got some decent support. I love Amazon, so I think that's a really cool card. And the last one I'll show, okay, actually I gotta show you two more. All right, Herald of the Hydra. This one's pretty nuts. Roar, draw Echophone, Atlantean Hydra. That's this guy, the 9 mana Echophone, 6/10, Blitz, Overkill, Protected, Twin Strike, Regen 6. Okay. Mana Surge 6, if Echophone is in your hand, as long as it's in your deck, you draw it, right? Now it's in your hand. Reduce its mana cost by 2. This is now a 7 mana, absolutely insane game ender. This card by itself is a bit weak with only 4 stats for 6 mana. You hit it with the 2 mana Star Shard Bolt or something and it's just dead. It's going to die pretty easily. But the point is to get the Echophone. I think this is going to be pretty strong. People playing an Echophone on turn 7 is, or in 7 mana, I should say, which is like turn 9. Definitely going to be very strong. And then this is my favorite meme card, I think, from the set, Crab Rave. It's a 15 mana spell. While this is in your hand, after you play a card that didn't start in your deck, reduce this card's mana cost by 1. Fill your board with 3/2 Jawbone Scuttler. So the payoff isn't that great because, I mean, like a Crystal Rain wipes your entire board. Rapture Dance wipes your entire, all kinds of board wipes are just going to murder these poor little cute Jawbone Scuttlers. But it does do 2 damage to a random enemy character after they would wipe the board, like if they hit it with a Rapture Dance. So it's not the end of the world. And in Control Nature, you can absolutely generate tons of cards that don't start in your deck. Plus, there's now a new God Power, which just generates random nature cards. So you can easily get this down, I'd say, to like 5 mana, and then fill your board with 3/2s. All right, and lastly here, we've got Void Dragons. This deck is probably the least well-built, I'll say, because I think that this archetype is just going to be absolutely insane. I think it's going to pop off sometimes, and I think it's going to crash and burn other times, especially if people play Void Hate, and there's now Void Hate in the Sanctum in Gleamweaver. So here's what Death Dragons are trying to accomplish. We've got, let's see, Afterlife, draw a dragon. We've got Afterlife, trigger the afterlife of a random dragon in your void. Summon a dragon from your void, trigger the afterlife of a dragon in your void. Summon the top dragon of your void. All right, this is the payoff. Here we go. Tempest Altar. 6 mana. Pull the top 5 creatures of your deck to your void. Mana Surge 9. Summon 5 dragons from your void. So if we can get some really good dragons into our void, Surge Tempest Altar, we then get to summon 5 dragons from our void. So the really good dragons that we can get with really sick afterlives in the void, we've got the 7 mana 5/1. Not very good, right? But Afterlife, summon 2 5/5 soulless dragons here. We've got the Voidjaw Dragon, 7 mana 8/6. After this is summoned from the void, destroy the strongest enemy creature. We've got Lockhart Dread Siren, 8 mana 9/9 with Overkill. After this is summoned from the void, attack each enemy creature. That's crazy. All right, so how do we get all these dragons into the void? Well, there is a relic in the new set that you can use, but it only puts things in if you're at that mana or less. So like on turn 2, right, you can only put in like small dragons. So of course Tempest Altar just pulls 5 straight into your void, and you might hit some of your big stuff. I've also got a Pirate Bullion here, which is a 5 mana 7/6, very overstated because it discards 2 random creatures from your hand. those go into the void. So if you can have like Pirate Bully in your hand and like a 7 and an 8 mana dragon, or even some of the other dragons with afterlives, Pirate Bully shoves them in there, and now you can summon them back. So Pirate Bully is a very interesting card from the new set. It's obviously double-edged. This is semi-casino-y in terms of, you don't actually want to throw all of your stuff away, and then also you don't want only bad things in the void. You actually really need the good stuff in the void, so it's an interesting archetype. Now, there's also a lot of cool board wipes in this package. We've got Incineration, which is a 0 mana. Obliterate any amount of cards in your void. Give that amount as burn to an enemy creature. I think this one's going to be important in the combos because a lot of these things also, top dragon and your void. So you can actually use Incineration to get rid of the chaff and only keep the wheat. I don't really know what that means. That's a thing they said 500 years ago, I guess. Anyway, you can actually get rid of the top, stuff that you don't want. Like if you're like, I don't want to Void Watch Serpent, when the next card below it is a Lockhart Dread Siren, for instance, right? So you can use Incineration, and then that pairs very nicely with All to Ashes. You could give, burn +4 to a specific creature for 0 mana, and then play All to Ashes, which gives burn +2 to each creature. Deal damage to each creature equal to their burn. So suddenly you're doing like 6 damage to one creature +2 to everything else and giving burn to everything else. So this is a really cool board wipe. I've also got some Bifurcating Curses in here just to deal with some of the board while we dirtle around and try and get our awesome dragons into the void and some of them later. And lastly, I'll talk about Bad Luck here because this card I think is also one of the really strongest removal spells in the new set. The 2 mana, target 2 creatures, give them afterlife, destroy all other creatures with this afterlife. This seems like a really easy way to just kill like 2 of your opponent's creatures. Sometimes where, like say you have a 1/4, they have a 3/1 and a 10/10. You put it on their 2 creatures, you trade your 1/4 into their 3/1. Your creature survives, both of their creatures die. Sometimes you can put it on your own creature and sack it into your opponent's stuff. You kill one of their creatures and their other creature dies. There's so many ways that this can be comboed, and you can run 2 copies. So sometimes you can actually put this afterlife on 4 creatures. You can target 1 of your own and 3 of your opponents. Just put it on all 4 of your opponent's creatures, so when any of them die, they all die. It's a really cool card. I like the design of it. That you can use it on any 2 creatures, and depending on how you do it, it seems like you're going to be able to get away with murder for 2 mana and kill 2 potentially really big creatures. So I really like this removal spell. I think it's very strong. All right, that does it for part 2 of the deck list breakdowns of Tides of Fate. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. What are you most excited for? I'll be making a ton of content, of course, when Tides of Fate comes out, so make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for more content. Thanks for watching.